everybody. Welcome to General Hospital MV, my GH Actor show. Before we get into the emotional week that was this week in General Hospital, I want to say good luck to all the actors and actresses nominated tonight in the Daytime Emmy Awards. We've already taken the award for Best Multiple Camera Editing in a Daytime Drama Series for General Hospital, so congratulations for that. And for the rest of you, good luck tonight. I know a lot of you are going to win because you guys have been killing it lately. I wish that this week's handful of episodes could also be considered in tonight's Emmy Awards, but I know that y'all are gonna get some wins next year as well, so I'm okay. We're good. Now I think it's fair that we start with something that isn't related to Oscar and what happened to Oscar this week. I mean, obviously there wasn't so much of that going on outside of that story, so we can get through it pretty quickly. Let's talk about Laura, Kevin, Ava, Felicia, and Mac putting their plan into motion to lure Ryan out of hiding. So everyone that was hurt by Ryan over the years gathered together to throw him a goodbye party, a funeral as such, so that Lulu could film everyone's words of hate towards him, as well as catching Ava and Kevin getting nice and cozy together in order to lure him out. After that, Lulu gives an interview to Ava where she mentions that Kevin has been the utmost helpful towards her ever since this whole situation went down. And right after she was finished that interview, Ryan called Ava. We don't know that it was Ryan, it was a silent phone call, but obviously it was probably Ryan. I guess it's good to know that wherever Ryan is, he has internet access and can watch when videos about himself go viral. I guess I'll have to sweep that under the rug, just like I had to sweep it under the rug when Ryan even knew how to use technology after being dead for 25 years in the first place. This whole thing I'm doing right now, vlogging, that didn't exist 25 years ago either. Meanwhile, Curtis is in Canada still looking for leads on where Ryan is. Apparently, it turns out that whoever robbed that pharmaceutical of the drugs that can help someone when they lose a limb was taken by a woman. So apparently a woman might be helping out Ryan, and I don't know if this is a coincidence or not, but shortly after that, Finn randomly mentioned Hayden out of nowhere for no good apparent reason. If you have Hayden helping Ryan, I'm gonna be so pissed. We want her back, but not like that. Ugh. Unfortunately, Curtis had to cut his investigation short because Jordan's health took a turn for the worst. She collapsed in the hospital and is gonna need an organ transplant ASAP. It's a good thing that this isn't a soap opera where someone has died recently that could potentially be an organ donor. Oh shit. Well, moving on. Let's talk about DOD for a minute. It appears that Christina is slowly getting back to herself. Let me repeat that. It appears to be. To be honest, I think that she is going to play her family like a fiddle and just do whatever they want her to do and say whatever they want to hear so that she can get back to Shiloh. That's my take on the whole thing. Now, things were about to get a little bit tricky. Obviously, Valerie and Chase have their suspicions that Christina is being held against her will by her family. They actually pay Alexis a visit, and that makes Alexis know that she is being watched. So Alexis comes up with a plan to bring Diane in and have her dress up as Alexis so that Valerie could follow her around. This just proves to me that Valerie is kind of a crappy cop because those wigs were terrible. Those binoculars, you could clearly see that that wasn't Diane leaving the house and that wasn't Alexis actually leaving the house. It was vice versa. Like, man, what a horrible cop. I will give that oversight a bit of a pass because I thought the scenes were hilarious, especially when Diane put the wig down in front of Valerie and was like, back off my client or we will file a lawsuit against you. We know that the DA is not aware of this investigation that you're doing. Boom bam, I'm actually glad that they pulled off the stunt because I think it's super annoying that Chase and Valerie are going after the Corinthoses for this in the first place. Chase knows that Shiloh is bad news, and I know that he's a cop and that he's only doing his job, but like, put your focus elsewhere. You could turn the other way for this case because you know how bad it is in DOD. You have full-time knowledge, thanks to your current girlfriend, what that place is like. I feel like I'd have to look at the lesser of two evils. Do I want to see Christina held against her will by her family for her safety, or do I want to see Christina drugged, raped, and tattooed by a madman? Seems like a no-brainer to me. Thankfully, Michael is about to bring Willow over to chat with Christina about her experience with DOD and Shiloh, and hopefully that'll knock some sense into Christina. Speaking of Michael though, I forgot to mention last week that he caught the flu, and Sasha caught the flu, and they both seemed pretty sick. Now they're better. I guess the only reason why they got sick in the first place is so that Sasha could be delirious and let it slip that she's not actually Nina's real daughter. Alright guys, I need to take a deep breath. Let's talk about Oscar's death. Now we'll talk about the one-off episode first. We start things off with Jocelyn reading a story to Oscar and she falls asleep and the book falls in slow motion at this point, I'm already assuming this is going to be a dream. Everything else that we are about to see is going to be a dream sequence. Apparently, not everyone thought that, and they experienced what was the worst possible fake out by the writers that they could have ever pulled. Sometimes I forget that not everyone views the show the same way I do, where I pay attention to so much details because I've watched the show for so long that I know what's going to happen sometimes before they happen, and I just felt so bad for the people that were genuinely happy that Oscar was miraculously healing and that everything was going to be fine, and they were like making posts on message boards saying, oh, thank God he's healed. Spoiler alert, those threads did not age well. Even so, I thought people would start to clue in when Lila and Edward were continuously making appearances throughout the episodes, or the fact that the lighting was really, really good throughout the episode, or the fact that, you know, Sonny and Carly were still in the hospital from night to day, still looking at babies through the window, like details like that. But no, not everyone's seen them, and that's unfortunate because they were so mad by the end. For me personally, I've said it several times over, this is how I thought the story would go and how I thought it should go. Because it's such a good, emotional, meaty storyline for a show to sink their teeth into, and it gives the actors so much opportunities to play some really great material. Now obviously, the closer we got to the end of the episode, the more obvious that this was a dream sequence. I mean, suddenly Oscar was seeing Sonny and Carly with their baby, and Jocelyn and Cameron and Trina graduating with Jocelyn's 10-foot tall boyfriend that was taking her out of the restaurant too, and Monica and Olivia going on vacation together, different things, and then Lila and Edward appearing again, and Oscar coming to the conclusion that, oh, his time is up. At the end of the episode, we're back in the room. Oscar opens his eyes and sees Lila and Edward in front of him, and then he closes his eyes and passes away. My favorite part about that moment was that right when he died, Kim felt the shock of when Oscar died. And then we see Oscar's spirit getting out of bed, and Oscar still laying there, which was a pretty cool effect up until he got to Lila and Edward, and half his head disappeared. I had to laugh about that. That was pretty bad. But yeah, when Oscar kissed Jocelyn on the cheek and said, I love you, and walked away, and she woke up and felt her cheek and just looked over at Oscar, like that was so good too. Overall though, I thought that the editing and the special effects and the script and the lighting, so much about the episode was so good. The only two real complaints I had about the episode was A, when Oscar's head disappeared in that one part, and B, when Monica was in the Quartermaine crypt, she said goodnight to everyone but Emily. How was that overlooked? That was bad. That was pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie, that one-off episode did not make me emotional. I mean, I did appreciate that they made Lila and Edward a part of it, but I didn't cry at all. However, the next day, I was an emotional wreck. I told you guys before that I usually watch GH with my family in the living room, all together, all of us, but I knew that I would be a wreck, so I actually watched the episode by myself downstairs with my door shut and just ugly cried. I wept several times in the episode. I have to give credit to all the actors and actresses that were a part of the episode. They were freaking phenomenal. Every single one of them were so good. Everyone affected me in different ways, but I think the person that got to me the most was probably Billy Miller. I mean, the character of Drew has been through so much since he's been on, and this was the most destroyed I've ever seen him. He did such a good job. I was like crying, like just sniffling, and just seeing him all choked up and crying and just looking devastated. He did such a good job, such a good job. And of course, Tamara Braun, like, I seen her back when she played Carly and when Michael died the first time, so I knew she was going to bring her A game. So of course, her performance was wonderful, and I didn't expect anything less from her. With Monica, I mean, seeing her look up to Alan and say, you watch out for our grandson, that got to me too, because I'm a huge Quartermaine fan, so I always get emotional when it comes to the Quartermaines. Ned being there the way that he was for Jocelyn was so good to watch. Just seeing him kind of take on a dad role for her and just kind of holding her, that just got to me too. Olivia crying and just, you know, being like, just exactly herself. It was nice to see it too. Olivia's always an emotional mess, so you know, it's true to character. And then of course Jason going there to comfort Monica was nice too. It's good to see that they have a good relationship, whereas, you know, in the past it wasn't as good. They weren't as close back in the day, so it's nice to see that as well. where am I? Jocelyn. Jocelyn, she killed it. Jocelyn was so good, and I didn't expect anything less. The casting director really struck gold with Eden McCoy. She has been killing it this whole storyline, and I think I got the most emotional with her when she had her head just buried into Carly when they were taking Oscar away, which was an emotional moment in itself where I was just bawling my eyes out. Cameron, he probably got to me the second most next to Billy Miller, because I've been in similar situations where something completely devastating has happened, and that's exactly how I react. I put on a front, I stay strong in front of my family, and then behind closed doors is where I just completely melt down. So I could relate to that, so I got choked over that situation too. Getting choked now, not gonna do it in front of camera. All the scenes that revolved around Oscar's death in that episode were so good. I just wish that they didn't throw the DOD stuff in between, and I totally get where the writers were going with that. They wanted us to have a breather so that we didn't end up in straitjackets by the end, but they could have used anything else. Like, I would have gladly just rather have watched Michael and Sasha talk about Sasha's secret instead of this whole DOD nonsense, because it's so, like, gross and slimy, and, you know, gross and slimy is not the good alternative to devastating and emotional, you know? I even enjoyed the scenes the next day where Kim left the Quartermaine mansion to face her home, and Julian was actually there for her, and Kim came home to a bunch of letters from everyone that was affected by Oscar's life. So good too. Tamara Braun, I just love her to bits, and she's just so good at playing a grieving mom. I loved it. I have nothing more to say, otherwise I will cry. And again, I will not do that in front of this camera, no. I want to know everything that you guys saw this week. Were you guys shocked that Oscar died? Were you as emotionally wrecked as I was watching the actors and actresses playing Oscar's death so well? By the way, in reference to Oscar, because I really didn't talk about him, over the years when I've seen people died, none of them were all that good at playing dead. Like, you could see them breathing, you could see them blinking. Oscar actually looked dead. I was actually impressed. But yeah, were you guys emotional? Did you guys not care at all about Oscar's death? And if you didn't, do you even have a soul? Which one of our wonderful actors and actresses got to you the most? Let me know all of that in the comments below. And if you like this video, give it a big old thumbs up, subscribe if you want to, and I will catch you guys next week.
'Cause I don't really want that much. Maybe just more time and get back home. And get back